Jewish and wondering how to get started doing this ShaBBoT thing. Or maybe you're not Jewish and you want to better appreciate what your friend is up to or why your coworker leaves early on Fridays. Let's look at two things. Why people do ShaBBoT and how. Okay, so why? It's the single most important building block of living a Jewish life, according to pretty much everyone. The Torah explains in chapter 1 that God created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day ceased from creating. So to mark that and appreciate creation, Jews cease creating things as well. We live life in the realm of space, going places, making things, buying and fixing stuff. We have to focus on the physical world on a day-to-day basis, and sure, we can do it mindfully. But ShaBBoT is a maneuver into the world of time. Letting go of making and buying and fixing is entering what Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel famously called a palace in time. It's hard to set aside the phone, the email, the cleaning, the errands, but that's the whole point, to set aside the time for something holy. It not only connects you to God, but also to yourself and the whole of the Jewish people. It creates a rhythm to life with the 7th note of rest time. Now, to the how. People talk about ShaBBoT being a day of not working or a day of rest. Jewish tradition actually defines 39 categories of creating-ish work, planting, building, hoisting stuff around, that you're supposed to refrain from on ShaBBoT. And traditionally, Jews extrapolate from that to mean no emails, no errands, no driving, cooking, or using technology. It's more than what's not done. Making ShaBBoT, or as you might hear it said, keeping Shabbos, means making sacred time. People bring in ShaBBoT by lighting candles at sundown and go from a dinner with challah and wine and singing to a morning maybe spent at services hearing about the Torah portion, to a big lunch with friends or a picnic in the park. There are naps, strolls around the neighborhood, books, text study, games, lots of low-key pastimes. It ends at nightfall on Saturday with a candle putting out ritual called Havdalah. There are tons of ways to celebrate ShaBBoT, and if you want to know more specifics about challah, candles, or songs, or how to say some of the blessings, we have plenty of resources for you. Heschel said that things do not lend significance to a moment. It is the moment that lends significance to things. Taking a day to live this way can bring a sense of wholeness, or in Hebrew, shalom. So let's end with a wish for Shabbat Shalom.
Peace, 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 peace. Peace to the family, peace to everyone. And for those who are keeping ShaBBoT right now, Shabbat Shalom. I want to, with this segment here, I want to kind of differentiate the Torah ShaBBoT versus the Judaic ShaBBoT. It is a difference. A lot of people don't realize that, but it is a difference between following the Judaic day of rest and following the Torahic day of rest. A lot of us in the Black Hebrew Israelite movement are not particularly familiar with the differences between a Torah ShaBBoT and a Jewish ShaBBoT. So I want to take a little time to break that down. So in the video, which you were just hearing, the Jews go by, which is, I'm talking about the Ashkenazis, they go by Bereshit, or Genesis, the creation story. This is the book that they use to justify their ShaBBoT. So we know ShaBBoT is traditionally celebrated between sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday. All right, so that's a traditional Jewish ShaBBoT. So if you're keeping that rest day, then congratulations, you are part of the Jewish tradition. But if you're not keeping ShaBBoT today, don't be fret or don't feel as if you're not keeping Torah. I don't want you to feel as if, oh, well, I'm not keeping the Saturday or the Friday between Friday and Saturday ShaBoT, that I'm not keeping Torah. And a lot of people will have you thinking that because I didn't take a rest on Friday or Saturday, that I'm not keeping Torah. I'm not an official Jew. So I don't want people to feel like that. I want people to have the right idea about what they converted to. So the best thing for me to do is to take us to Scripture. So let me take this off of here. Let's take us to Scripture. All right, so we're going to go to Scripture. And wow, we are at Genesis 1. Let me see if I can get us a more full view here. All right. Try to give us a little full view here of the scriptures. This is I'm using the Arabic Bible, so only because my internet is down. So for some reason, the Arabic Bible still works even if you have no internet. All right. So dealing with the Torahic ShaBoT, or the ShaBoT of the Torah, the Sabbath of the Torah, versus the Jewish Sabbath. All right. So in the beginning, in Genesis, what they call Bereshit. Okay. This is the creation story. Okay. So first verse, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. All right. So we're pretty much familiar with the creation story. All right. So there's a couple questions that I'm gonna bring out, which should make anybody that's viewing, shalom to everybody that's viewing, that should make the viewer, question certain aspects of Judaism when dealing with the Saturday ShaBoT. All right, so I'm just run through some of these verses here just to give us a better idea of the ShaBoT, of the Torah ShaBoT, versus the Judaic ShaBoT. So let's go. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." There was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And the evening and the morning was the first day. All right, so now we see here in Genesis, Bereshit chapter 1, verse 5, is the ending of the first day. Okay, so now we're dealing with the Torah, the Torahic ShaBoT versus the Judaic ShaBoT. All right, so the first day, according to Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, ends the first day of creation. So in dealing with the Torahic ShaBoT, because we know that in the Judaic ShaBoT, Saturday is ordained as the seventh day. Okay, so according to Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, and God called the light day, and the darkness He called night, and the evening and the morning was the first day. My question to anybody of Judaic conversion, those black Hebrew Israelites, those that follow the Orthodox Jewish tradition and so forth and so on, what calendar day, being that we do go by the Greco calendar or the solar calendar, what calendar day was the first day? According to Bereshit or Genesis, chapter 1, verse 5. The evening and the morning were the first day. What day was this? Was this Monday? Was this Tuesday? Was this Sunday? What day was the first day? See, the Torah does not specify when the first day was. But this is the first day of the work of the creation of the Most High. Verse 6. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. Again, now we have the second day. What calendar day did the second day of creation fall on? Was it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday? What day? See, the Torah does not specify a certain day of creation. So now we are at the second day, but we have no idea what calendar day is the second day. Continuing, verse 9. And God said, let the waters under heaven be gathered together to one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and gathered together the waters, and called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. God saw that it was good. Verse 13. And the evening and the morning was the third day. Now we're at the third day of creation. What calendar day? Now this should be a question in every Hebrew mind, definitely a black Hebrew Israelite. That's we have to understand that the Judaic tradition is a culture that we are not accepted in. Different routes of religious understanding when dealing with this Israelitism, this Hebrewism. We have to find a better understanding that more fits our character, our agenda, our history, and basically our plight towards the future, if we're going to take on this Jewish characteristic. All right, so now we are at the third day, yet the Torah itself does not specify what calendar day is the third day. So in our contemporary times, we go by the Greco or the Greek solar calendar. So the third day of our calendar week would be, being that Sunday starts, according to the Greco calendar, Sunday starts the first day. So in essence, in theory, really, the third day, if we're going by the Greco calendar, the third day will actually be Tuesday. But the Torah itself does not specify the exact calendar day that the third day fell on, being that this is the creation of days in general. So before the third day, before the second day, before the first day, there was no days because there was no earth. All right, so these are the first days of earth's cultivation and existence. Okay. Verse 14. And God said, let the lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens, and give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So now we're at the fourth day of creation. Now, if you're going by the Greco calendar, then the fourth day would be Wednesday, a Wednesday. All right, if you're going by the Greco calendar. But according to the Torah, there is no calendar according to the Torah. Actually, when understanding the ShaBBoT from a Israelite perspective, the ShaBBoT, the calendar, the Hebraic calendar did not start officially until after the Israelites made their exodus out of Egypt. That's when the Israelite calendar starts to begin. Because remember, in the Exodus, Hashem, the Creator, says that upon their exodus, that was the first month of their calendar year. So prior to the exodus out of Egypt for the Hebrews, they had no calendar for themselves. They didn't have a way of tracking days and times for themselves, as far as an independent culture. All right, so we keep that in mind, that the Hebrews did not receive or even cultivate or create a calendar to keep a ShaBBoT or a Sabbath until after their exodus out of Egypt. So we have to remember that, okay? Definitely when dealing with the creation story. So in the creation story, the ShaBBoT was in essence for everyone, because there's a difference between the ShaBBoT for everyone and then the Israelite ShaBBoT, and we can find that in Deuteronomy, where it gives a different clarity on why the Hebrews are to keep ShaBBoT versus the original reasoning for keeping ShaBBoT, which we will see in Bereshit, or what we call Genesis, the first chapter. Okay, so we had the fourth day. Now, in the Greco calendar, the fourth day will fall on a Wednesday, being that the Torah does not follow a Greco or solar or lunar calendar at all. The fourth day is the fourth day. It's not a Pacific calendar day that we can equate to our solar calendar today. So we can't take the verse 19 of Genesis 1, the fourth day, and look at our modern calendar and say, oh well, that was Thursday. That's Thursday. That's Wednesday. I mean, the fourth day is Wednesday. That would be inaccurate. Try to equate the Greco calendar to the creation story when there was no calendar. There was no day. These are the first days in existence. Okay. Verse 20. God said, let waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that have life, and fowls that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. So now we're at the fifth day of Bereshit, or in the beginning. Again, we see that there is no specific calendar day associated with the fifth day. This is just the fifth day of creation. The Torah does not specify what day the fifth day fell on, according to our Greco calendar, or solar calendar that we use in our modern era. All right, so we can formulate a hypothesis on what day would be the fifth day, and if we're going by this calendar, then the fifth day would be a Thursday. Okay. Verse 24. And God said, Let the earth bring forth the living creatures after his kind, cattle and creeping things and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed to you shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. Verse 31. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So now we are at the sixth day. So from day one of creation to day 6, there is no specification or comparison to a certain calendar date. As we have today, we have a Greco calendar, we have a lunar calendar, solar calendar, and then it depends on what time zone you live at in the world, what region of the world you live in, and if you live on the western hemisphere, on the eastern hemisphere, in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, your times will change based upon a certain hemisphere that you live in. So you might live in India versus someone who live in Indianapolis or something like that. So the time zones will be different. So day might start over here when night starts over here. So these people might be 6 hours behind these other people, 10 hours, or they might be a whole day behind another area, region of this earth, or it might be a day ahead of another region or another earth. So it really depends. But if you're following the Judaic ShaBBoT, then there's some discrepancies based on time zones. So you figure someone that's keeping ShaBBoT in America might not keep ShaBBoT in Israel, in the state of Israel, at the same time they're keeping ShaBBoT in America because of a different time zone. So it might be daylight in Israel, in the state of Israel, and it might be nighttime in New York. So how do you kind of keep a tradition where everybody's supposed to follow this tradition at the same time if you're living in 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 different time zones? Okay, so that's one discrepancy about it. All right, but now we're at the 6th day, so let's go to the next verse. All right, so this is Genesis chapter 2, called Bereshit. It says, "Thus the heaven and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the 7th day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the 7th day, and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made." Okay, so that is the Torahic ShaBBoT. That is the universal ShaBBoT. So what does this mean? If you want to be in the image of God, in the likeness of the Most High, then the Torahic ShaBBoT is not about a certain calendar day. If you're keeping the Torah ShaBBoT, it's not about a certain calendar day that you're keeping this rest day. In fact, the Torahic ShaBBoT is defined as working 6 days and taking the 7th day off. It's not a special day or a certain day that you're supposed to take a rest. And my question is for anybody that's more seasoned in the Jewish religious understanding: if you do not work 6 days straight, are you still obligated to take a rest on the 7th day? So let's say you work 4 days, had off the 5th day, went back to work the 6th day. Do you rest the 7th day? Being that the Most High continued his work from the 1st day to the 6th day. He took no break. For 6 days, he continued his work for 6 days, took no break. Only on the 7th day did he take a rest, once his work was ended. So, if you're working, and you only say you have a work schedule, and you work 3 days, you off the 4th day, you off the 5th day, you go back to work the 6th day, do you still take a rest the 7th day when you just had 2 days off? You just going back to work your 1st day. So you work 3 days. You're off. You're home. You're doing whatever you feel like doing. You're not working. You're not taking care of any business. So you're off a day or two. You go back to work on the 6th day. That's your 1st day back to work. So the 7th day would be the traditional Jewish ShaBBoT. Do you still take that day off, even though you did not work 6 days? So let's go deeper into the Torah. All right, so we're going to get out of here, right? And we're going to go to what is the purpose of the ShaBBoT? What is the purpose of the ShaBBoT? What does the Torah what is the explanation that the Torah gives on why a Shabbat should be kept? Okay, so we're going to go, let's go to Exodus chapter 20. So we are Exodus chapter 20. All right, so now this is dealing with the Shabbat. Hope everybody can see this. It's dealing with the Shabbat. Maybe I'll move my phone back just a little bit so we get a good view of everything. Okay, so this is dealing with the Shabbat according to the 10 principles. Now I explained the Torah Shabbat means to work 6 days, take the 7th day off. Now you have to work in the continuance of 6 days straight. You can't work 2 days, take off the 3rd day, go back the 4th day, take off the 5th day, go back the 6th day, and think you're going to take a Shabbat on the 7th day. That's not how it works. You must exhaust yourself for 6 days, then take a rest for the 7th day. Meaning, don't exacerbate yourself for 7 days straight. Work 6 days, whatever 6 days. So, whatever your first day of work is. Okay, so say your first day, what's today? Friday. Say your first day of work is today. Today was the first day you went back to work, or the first day you started your business. So today is the first day, which is Friday. Saturday would be the 2nd day. Sunday would be the 3rd day. Monday would be the 4th day. Tuesday would be the 5th day. Wednesday would be the 6th day. So Thursday, what would that be? Being that is the 7th day. You've been working since Friday. That's when you started your work. So now you are at Wednesday. You started your work Friday. Saturday's your 2nd day of work. Sunday is your 3rd day. Monday is the 4th day. Tuesday is the 5th day. Wednesday is the 6th day. So Thursday would be the 7th day. And this is what ShaBBoT means. It means 7. That's what ShaBBoT means. 7. A lot of us don't understand. ShaBBoT means 7. This is what in the modern Hebrew, the definition of ShaBBoT is. Means 7. Not rest. It means 7. And on the 7th day, or Shabbat Yom, you take a rest. You don't continually work every week, every day, every week, every day. It's not good, for your development, and that's on the lines of some type of servitude or enslavement. Because someone that constantly works 7 days a week, every week, what are you working that hard for? Obviously, you're not, if you're planting in the ground, if you're a farmer or something like that, where you're cultivating your own food, then basically you don't have to work 7 days a week to do that. Even if you're herding sheep, you don't do that 7 days a week. If you're working 7 days a week constantly, then that means you're working for an object, you're working for an Elohim or someone that is always putting you to work like that, or you're just working for the benefit of greed. and idealistic substance, materials, and nature things. You're working for something that's not giving you life. If you're working 7 days a week, every month, all year, what are you working for? That equates to some form of slavery. To work constantly like that, and don't have a rest. Don't give yourself rest. You're enslaving yourself to whatever obligation or work obligation that you're doing, whatever profession that you're engaged in, whatever occupation that you're conducting. You're not living life. Life is not, it's, you don't live to work. You work to live. So if you think that the Creator created humanity to constantly be like work mules, this is why the ShaBBoT exists, because it's saying that we are not created to be work mules, meaning that we're not here to constantly work. We're here to enjoy what was created for us, given to us. And how can you enjoy the fruit of your labor if you're always laboring? That's like, in contemporary times, you go to work every day, you buy you a nice bedroom set, nice living room set, nice flat screen TVs, you got a nice entertainment section in your house, and you got DVDs, and you got music, and you got the movie stick where you can watch all the movies you want. I mean, you have everything. I mean, your house, you work hard, beautiful, smells good, nice curtains, nice china dishes, But, I mean, yeah, your house is beautiful. You set it up real nice, but you're never there. You can't enjoy your flat screen TV. You can't enjoy, the softness of your living room set. You can't enjoy your bed because you're constantly working. So whoever is living in your house is enjoying, the fruit of your labor. You can't enjoy it. You don't have time to sit back and reflect on the mercy and the grace and the blessing that was bestowed on you from the Most High, because you are constantly working. So you have no time to give thanks. You have no time to reflect on the beauty of what God has given you through your works, because you constantly are working. So, you're not really going to enjoy the fruit of your labor when doing that. Or you can be working for an individual. Like in the story of Jacob and Laban. When he was just constantly working for Laban, he started to express his content against Laban, meaning that he changed his pay a few times. Jacob was losing sleep, he was just constantly working for Laban. Sure, Laban was getting rich and becoming more prosperous. His animals were multiplying exceedingly. So, yes, through Jacob's servitude, Laban became even more wealthier than before. But Jacob didn't have anything to, he was working constantly and look around, didn't have anything for himself. So it came to a point where Jacob was like, look, we have to go. If I'm going to work hard, then let me work hard to make something for myself. Not keep working hard for y'all father, and he ain't giving us nothing. And this is when they stole away at night. But the point is, you're not supposed to work, or allow someone to work you that hard. And this is why, according to the 10 principles or the 10 commandments, it speaks on not only the individual taking a rest, but if you have employees, in biblical terms, that would be a manservant, maidservant, or slave. Not only your employees do you give a rest, not only do you give yourself a rest, but you also give your animals and whoever is around you. You can't rest and watching other people work. Everybody takes a rest. So let's go into the commandments so we can understand the Torahic ShaBBoT versus the Judaic ShaBBoT. All right, so in ShaMoT, or Exodus chapter 20, verse 8, says, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Or holy, this is Kodesh, which means separated as well. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Now, even in the commandments, it doesn't specify what days. It just says 6 days shalt thou labor. So 6 days, from the first day to the 6th day, you should labor. It doesn't matter what day is the first day of your labor. That has no significance on the fact of keeping a ShaBBoT on the 7th day. It doesn't matter when you started your work. What matters is that you work 6 days and take the rest on the 7th day. That's what matters. Not the day you started, but the day you end your work. That's more on the lines of the Torahic ShaBBoT. So we're going to get into what is the Jewish Sabbath. But I want to deal more with right now what is the proper way to keep ShaBBoT according to Torah. It says, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath. What does Sabbath mean? 7. Excuse me. This is what Sabbath means. Sabbath means 7 in modern Hebrew, or what is really Yiddish. But the 7th day is the Sabbath. So 7th day, Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter. So this is talking about your children. So you have your children, you give them chores to do all week. One day a week, they are exempt from doing chores or any type of responsibility that you have imposed on them in the household. Thy manservant nor thy maidservant. So if you have male and female employees, they are to take a rest as well. Nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So, not only do you take a rest, but your children are to take a rest. Your employees are to take a rest. Not only them. The Sabbath is not about. It's not just about human interaction with Torah, but this also has something to do with the animals, the cattle, your sheep, your cows, your chickens, your donkeys. They take a rest as well. So if you're not giving your animals rest, then you're breaking Torah as well. So how many animals are getting the ShaBBoT rest? You understand? Are they still working 7 days a week? You understand? So this is more about everybody takes a break. Like a lunch break at work. You work a certain amount of hours, then they say, hey, you get a lunch break. In certain states, you have certain OSHA laws that specifies that if you work 8 hours, then you get two 15-minute breaks and a half an hour lunch. Why? Because you can't work somebody 8 hours straight with no lunch, no break, no time to get off their feet, no time to rest their mind, no time to get themselves together. Give them a rest. Let them get an hour, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Walk outside, smoke a cigarette, something. Give them a break. You can't constantly work people like that. That's slavery. And this is why they have laws to give people lunch breaks, to give people 15-minute breaks. You know, you work all year. Hey, you get a vacation, get a whole week. You know, because in essence, it's not good to overwork anything, even electronics. This tab I have in front of me, or even the phone that I'm using right here, if I constantly keep using the phone constantly, never turning it off, never giving it time to rest, never giving it time to reboot, eventually I'm going to burn it out. This is with anything. I don't care if it's man-made or it's man himself. Anything that you overuse, overwork, would eventually burn out. And this is very prevalent in humanity. You can't overwork the body. The body needs to rest. It needs to rejuvenate itself. So if you're constantly working, or if you're in a situation where you feel that you have to constantly work because of fear of poverty, fear of whatever, and you have to work 7 days a week out of fear of not eating every day, of not having a place to sleep then that's a bad situation. That's not a good situation that you're in, And, you will basically burn yourself out. This is why a lot of men, family men, if you haven't noticed, men dying young, or dying before their wives. Why? Because they're constantly working. This is the stereotype of what a man is supposed to be in this country. Is a man is supposed to be the protector and the provider, right? So he's protecting his household by providing for his household, because truly poverty leaves you vulnerable for all type of wickedness, wicked ideas, to acquire wealth and money, and you find yourself, a victim, or could be victimized, because you're poor, and then you're around poor people. You're around people that are lacking. You're around people that don't have. You're around people that might, take situations to the extreme because of their envy and jealousy and the fact that, and their want for all things. So, a man providing for his house is a man protecting his house. And that's a very strenuous job on one individual to take care of a household. And definitely in society where it's not as if you work, you acquire a certain amount of money, you're able to purchase a home and not have to continually pay property, land tax, or a mortgage, or a light bill. So every month is a bill. Every month, non-stop. Every month, somebody's charging you. You're in debt to somebody. So you have to constantly work. You might have to have 2 or 3 or 4 different outlets of income to sustain your household, and provide and protect your household as a man. So you might be off this job, but then you're going to another job, or you have side jobs, or maybe you have your own business. So you're constantly working, trying to provide for your family, and that is burning out a lot of men in our society. Now that the roles have changed, and women are taking on the roles of men, meaning that they are the breadwinners, they are the providers and protectors of the household, in 2018, and you're starting to see women be heavily diagnosed with heart disease, high blood pressure. They're dying off at early ages because of the strenuous responsibility of providing and protecting a household all by themselves. So now they're starting to feel the ills of constantly working without mental, physical, and spiritual rest. All right. Verse 11. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Okay, so we see, according to the Torah ShaBBoT, okay, for in 6 days God made heaven and earth and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, which is 7. ShaBBoT means 7 day. 7 day, Sabbath day is the same thing. And hallowed it. So we see here that it's not a certain day that you keep ShaBBoT, but it is the fact that you work 6 days and keep ShaBBoT on the Sunday. No matter when is the first day of your work, being that we have no idea when was the first day of creation, as far as trying to equate that to a calendar day. All we know is he started his work on day 1. And on day 7 he rested. So you should follow that same pattern, being that we are made in the image of the Most High, in the likeness of the Almighty. So we can follow the same pattern. Work 6 days, take the 7th day off. If you're lucky, you might not have to take the 7th day off. You might get a day off in between your 6 days. But also, you can look at that as, hey, you know what? Anything and everything can be completed in 6 days. Or in the variables of 6. 6, 12, 18, 24. So in 6 days, in variables of 6, things can be completed. You have 4 rest days a month. If you work in 6 days a week, you have 4 rest days a month. But if you don't work a full 6 days, then you don't keep a ShaBBoT. In my case, I don't work. In my personal life, I don't work 6 straight days. So me personally, I don't keep a ShaBBoT. Unless that week, say this week I work 6 days straight, no day off. Then yeah, on the 7th day I'm not working. But like last week, say I worked 4 days, had the 5th day off, had the 6th day off. So I don't keep a ShaBBoT. According to Torah, I'm not supposed to keep a ShaBBoT, because I didn't work 6 days like the Lord worked 6 days and took the 7th day off. So now this is the general idea of keeping ShaBBoT. Working 6 days, taking the 7th day off. There's not a specified day mentioned in the Torah. as the seventh day. It just says, whenever your first day of work start, you count 6 days, rest on the seventh day. Whatever day that fall on. That can be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Doesn't matter what day you keep ShaBBoT. What matters is that prior to keeping ShaBBoT, you work 6 full days. And this is in accordance to the Torah, not anything else. So let's bring our attention to Deuteronomy. When dealing with the Torah of the Hebrews. So let's deal with the Hebrew Torah. All right, so we had Devarim, or Deuteronomy, chapter 5. And this is Moses again reiterating the 10 principles, or what we call the 10 commandments. So there's a slight difference in the explanation of ShaBBoT in this in this understanding. Remember, I was saying that prior to the Exodus, the Hebrews themselves did not have a cultural or traditional calendar that they went by when they were living in Egypt. So in the creation story, nobody was keeping ShaBBoT. Now, I put it that way. Nobody was keeping ShaBBoT until after the Exodus. Once the Exodus came about, then you had the Hebrews who had constructed a sense of a calendar or a marking of days. And this is when the ShaBBoT came into effect. And we're going to go back and we're going to check that out too. But I just wanted to get through the Torahic ShaBBoT and what's the difference between the ShaBBoT of the Torah and the ShaBBoT of Judaism as the religious aspect. Okay, so there's a big difference. I want people to understand that there's a big difference. Now, those that are keeping ShaBBoT right now, hopefully you work 6 days prior to the day and you're righteously keeping ShaBBoT. But if you're just keeping ShaBBoT because you've heard that this is the religious day, that this certain religious Jewish or religious denomination is keeping ShaBBoT, or you feel like I'm not truly Jewish if I'm not keeping a rest day on Saturday, you're not following Torah, or you're not following the identity of Torah. So I just want you to understand there's a difference between being a Torahic Hebrew and being a Judaic Jew. It's a big difference. It's a very big difference. And I want you to understand that there is a difference. And the difference is really how you keep ShaBBoT. That's one of the variables to show if you're being Torah observant or if you're following a cult or a certain nation's tradition. It's basically on how you're keeping ShaBBoT. So it's really your sovereignty, your independence is at play here. So I want people to realize that. So now in Deuteronomy chapter 5, where Moses reiterates the 10 principles. So I wanted to start at Deuteronomy 5, verse 13. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. So again, we see 6 days. Now, it's not a certain calendar day or anything like that. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy ox, nor thy ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. That now this is the reason. Now this is the reason why. This is when Moses reiterates the commandments. He's given, and this time he's given reasoning for keeping this rest day. Why? He says that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. All right, so you're giving rest to everybody. Now, this is the more peculiar reason. Now, the ShaBBoT is for everybody. Not animals. Nobody is supposed to overexalt themselves in the aspect of servitude or service or slavery. That's not good for anybody or anything, any object. Even like I'm saying, a cell phone, a tablet, a computer, if you constantly keep a TV, if you constantly keep it on, keep playing it over and over and over and over again, never giving it time to rest, it will burn out on you. That goes from a piece of machinery to an electronic equipment to a human being. You have to give things rest. You just have to. Or you will burn them out. So in that aspect, this is what the ShaBBoT is just meaning. Don't burn yourself out. And this is a universal concept. This is not just a concept for Jews. This is a universal concept. Don't overexert. Don't overwork yourself. You're going to burn yourself out, and that's not healthy. That's not good for your living situation. If you want to live, don't overwork yourself. Don't, overexert your energy. Conserve your energy. This is what the ShaBBoT is about. It's about conserving energy, not overworking yourself. Reflecting. Sit back and reflect on your work. Understand why you're working. What are you working for? What are you working towards? All right? What are you working towards? Or are you just working for the sake of working? Are you working for greed? Are you working for inanimate objects that brings no health to your life? No longevity. You work 7 days a week constantly for a new car, or something that means nothing, that has no value after you purchase it. Are you working for someone that's telling you you have to work constantly like that? They're sitting back at home getting rich while you're working. This is what's going on. Or are you working for greed? You just want to acquire things. You just want things. You don't need anything. You just want things. And this is why you're constantly working. Or you're working this hard so you can be a bragger. So you can show your wealth to people. So you can have a sense of pride, in demeaning other people who has less than you. This why you're working hard, so you go off. These are the things that you in your personal. You take a rest. When you stop working, you sit back and say, what am I working for? Even today, you say, what am I working for? Why am I working so hard? A lot of times, the reason we're working hard to pay bills, we're working for that. We're not working towards anything. We're working because we are in debt. Constantly. We are in debt. Constantly. You have to pay your rent every month. You got to buy food every month. You got to pay your cable bill, your car note, your car insurance. You got to wash clothes, kids' uniforms, and kids need things, So it's a constant burden every single day. It's a constant worryation. Am I going to have a job when I go to work tomorrow? Did I fill out that paperwork right? Did I dot all my I's and cross my T's? Do that person like me? Because it just seems like they don't. They might try to get me out of here for this person. You have your landlord telling you the rent is due on this day. But the way your pay is set up, you can't pay on that certain day. Now you got late fees. Now they want to send you to court. It's very frustrating to live life. And to take a day for yourself and not do anything, not think about anything, not worry about anything. You're just sitting back and it's like, one of those, let me get a beer and a cigar type of situations, let me get some wine, let me get some Manischewitz and some honey bread and just sit back and get some, some cinnamon wafers and some Manischewitz and let me just chill out, I done worked hard all week and I just need a rest. This is what it's about, So, and you reflect, when I do go back to work, what am I working towards? What am I, These are the things that you will think about. These are the things that you will ponder on after you completed your weeks of work or whatever. All right, so in this aspect, it gives explanation to why it's very important for the Hebrews to keep the ShaBBoT. The ShaBBoT is for everyone. I want everybody to realize this. The ShaBBoT is for everyone according to Genesis, the 1st chapter. The ShaBBoT is for everybody. All right? But the ShaBBoT is significant for the Hebrews because of, according to Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 16. Chapter 5, verse 15. And remember that thou was a servant or slave in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out from thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the rest day. Remember, you was a slave in Egypt. Remember, you were working 7 days a week for the benefit of somebody else. Remember that. So, I'm bringing you out of Egypt to give you rest. So take a rest. And remember that you was a slave. So, in the aspect of the Hebrews, being if you have converted to some form of Judaism, or even if you are of the Islamic stock, because that's still Judaism, and it says to keep the ShaBBoT in the Quran as well. This is what I was talking about as far as overworking yourself. Overworking yourself is slavery. You're enslaving yourself to your rent. You're enslaving yourself to a fancy car, or nice clothes, or nice sneakers, or your ambitions, outweigh your concern with your life. You're putting your life to the side for your idealistic ambitions. And this is something that is against Torah. Because Torah is about life. It's not about the demise of life. So in everything that Torah teaches us is teaching us on how to live a longer life, a more peaceful life. And you can't be at peace constantly working. You can't be at peace like that. That's not peace. nor will you enjoy the fruits of your labor, because again, you're always laboring. All right, this is why, according to Exodus, when the man was picking up sticks, and he wound up being condemned because he was picking up sticks on the Shabbat. Because the Most High was trying to show that I'm giving you rest. I'm telling you to take a day off. That's an order. Take a day off. He's going to go against orders. You just came out of slavery, guy. Now it's like the Most High saying, take a break, just relax, don't do nothing. You just gonna do something anyway. I got to do something. Well, now you did. You understand? So, and the Shabbat was the mark of the calendar day. So now we see that what is the meaning of the Torah Sabbath versus the Judaic Saturday Sabbath, which is the day of Saturn. All right. And also, I'm going to elaborate on that more. But first, I wanted to go into the actual, how did the Hebrews cultivate their calendar? See, because when we look at Genesis or Bereshit, the first chapter, and I was dealing with, well, what day was the first day? Well, what day was the second day? What calendar day was these days? For us to assume that Saturday is the proper day of the Shabbat, which we see here, that's not. That's a Judaic RaBBinicaL tradition that has nothing to do with Torah. And there's a reason for that. There's a very good reason for that. It's not a reason that we should ascribe to, but it is a good reason for why the Saturday Shabbat exists for the Ashkenazis. But it's not a good reason for us to identify with that tradition. We should return to the traditions of life. And the tradition of life is, don't overwork yourself. That's the tradition of life. Being that life, Yah means life. Hayah means life. To become, to be, to exist. So we are dealing with the God of life, with the God of light. Do you understand? So when dealing with life and the directive that life gives you the directive of not overworking yourself. This is the directive of life. This is the commandment of God. Do not overwork yourself. Take a rest. Enjoy the fruit of your labor. Don't overwork yourself. That's just law. And it makes sense biologically, on a healthcare level. You can't burn yourself out like that. Can't burn anything out like that. So I want to start I'm going to go to Exodus. Okay, and I think we should go to Exodus, maybe chapter 5. All right, so this is where I'm going to start at Exodus chapter 12. Let me get my notes together. And I will be right back, and we're going to dig into the cultivation of the Hebraic calendar. When did it start? And do their calendar match the Greco or lunar calendar that is being used today to justify the Saturday Shabbat? So we're going to look at this. The Torah is beautiful, and it explains itself. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to break it down. What is the difference of the Torahic Shabbat versus the Judaic Shabbat? Just give me about 2 minutes. I'll be right back, And we're going to dive right into this so we can get a better understanding of the tradition that we should embody. All right, all right. Hope I didn't take too long. All right, so we got ShaBBoT, or Exodus chapter 12. So this is the start of the Hebrew calendar. This might help some of my viewers. In there, if you have any, the Black Hebrew Israelites are a very splintered and debatable religious class. So, if you are a Black Hebrew Israelite, you will find yourself debating more than uniting with your religious peers. So, in the case of the argument of the lunar cycle, solar, basically lunar, because you have a lot of camps that are promoting the lunar cycle, lunar calendar, or some aspect of some type of watching the moon to determine the days and things of this nature, and months or whatever. So as I go through this, you will see that there is no lunar observance to the Hebrew calendar. So as we go through this, that will probably be exposed. That's not my aim. That's not the direction I'm going in. But the direction I'm going in will expose that the lunar, that whatever lunar calendar that you have a lot of camps trying to promote is absolutely inaccurate and concerning the Torah and how to break down the days or whatever. Okay, so starting from the top of Exodus chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. All right, so at this time, the Hebrews were in Egypt. Get themselves geared up to leave Egypt. That was the first month of their year. Has nothing to do with any type of lunar moon watch or solar sun watching. It has nothing to do with that. All right. Verse 3. Speak unto the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the house is too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. Verse 6. And ye shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts and the upper doorpost of the house wherein they shall eat it. All right, so we see first month. So I want to go, let me see, to when they actually left out of Egypt. Okay, so this is chapter 14. So we're dealing with the Hebrews leaving out of Egypt. So we are at the situation where they were crossing the Red Sea, okay, or the Red Sea. And Moses stretched forth his hand. This is verse 27, Exodus 14. Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength. When the morning appeared, the Egyptians fled against it, and the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariot and the horsemen and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw the great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Okay, so now we have the song of Moses. Okay, this is Exodus 15. So we're going to continue here. Now, if you haven't noticed, we're going through the chapters. There has not been a ShaBBoT yet. Okay, so this is Exodus 16. Verse 1. And they took the journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after departing out of the land of Egypt. So now, in the second month, on the 15th day of the second month, Israel journeyed from Elim, right, to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month. So now we have the first month. Now we're in the 15th day of the second month. They have not kept a ShaBBoT yet. Okay? So it's the second month. And the whole congregation, this is verse 2 of Exodus chapter 16. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. Mind you, this is the 15th day of the second month. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto the children of Israel, at evening, then ye shall know that the Lord hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. In the morning, then ye shall see the glory of the Lord, for that he hear your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we that ye murmur against us? And Moses said, this shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, for that the Lord heareth your murmurings, which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. All right, so going. So they murmured. And they gathered all the stuff. So let's see here. Verse 16. This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer, for every man according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in his tent. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, let no man leave of it till the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath. So this is the first Sabbath. Exodus 16, verse 23. Now when we go to the top of the verse, to the top of the chapter, we see what month are the Israelites in. They are in the second month. Now this was the 15th day. So you count 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So on the 21st day, that's 6 days. All right. It says, again, he said, and he said unto them, this is what the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remain or lay up for you to be kept until the morning. And they laid it up until the morning, and Moses bathed, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some people on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said to Moses, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See, that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna, and it was like, what is this word? Coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. So they didn't keep their first Sabbath until the second month, like the 20th something day, right before basically the end of the month. All right, so we see it had nothing to do with any type of lunar watching or watching the lunar or watching the moon. So, Exodus 17, all the congregation of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journeys according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. So this is in the time of when they wanted some water. All right, so let's see if we can get to, if they name any more months, how many months after. But we see that the Sabbath wasn't kept until the second month after the Israelites left Egypt. So the first month they didn't keep a Shabbat. They didn't keep a Shabbat until after the 15th of the second month. So now we're just going to try to see if they broke down any more months and saying, well, this is, all right, so this is the, so they don't break down any more months. After the Shabbat, until we get to the time where the man was picking up sticks during the Shabbat. So it doesn't really break down any more months, because basically they was in the wilderness for 40 years. So, you know, to break down every month for the next 40 years would, you know, this Exodus would have been a lot longer than it is already. But so this is why basically after the second month, you don't really find them breaking down what month, third month, fourth month, fifth month, or whatever, because the Israelites, in essence, really only would have took them about 3 to 4 months into promising. But because they feared the Canaanites, because they were giants or whatever, they had to suffer with wandering in the wilderness for 40 years until they get the understanding of their culture, of the new culture, and the new tradition that was being given to them. But as far as the ShaBBoT, now we see that the Israelites were not keeping the ShaBBoT when they was in Egypt. They didn't keep their first ShaBBoT until the second month after their departing out of Egypt. This is when they keep a ShaBBoT. Okay? Now, mind you, when we go back to Deuteronomy, chapter 5, what was the reasoning for the Hebrews to keep their rest day? As it says, and remember that thou was a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day, because they were slaves. So he brought them out of servitude to be slaves no more, and gave them a day of rest. Now we go to Exodus, and we see that they did not keep the first ShaBBoT. The first rest day was not kept until the second month after the 15th day. So you figure after day 15, they picked up manna and gathered manna for 6 days. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much as they did the other 5 days, because the next day, which would be the 7th day, was this ShaBBoT. So you count from second month, 15th day, count 6 days. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So basically, on the 22nd day of the second month of the coming out of Egypt, that was the first ShaBBoT ever kept by any nation of people. So we was at so that was the first ShaBBoT. Now we see that the Israelites were in Egypt, according to Exodus chapter 12. The Israelites were in Egypt, and according to Exodus, or ShaMoT chapter 12, verse 2, while in Egypt, that month was classified as the first month of their year. Had nothing to do with watching the lunar or the moon or the phases of the moon. Had nothing to do with that at all. Okay. And on the 10th day of that month, they received lambs and goats. Okay. And on the 14th day of that same month is when they sacrificed the lamb, putting the blood on their doorpost, okay? And right after that, they left Egypt. They exited out of Egypt, okay? So they left Egypt. All right, they was being chased by Pharaoh, okay? Pharaoh drowned. They sung songs about the power of the Most High. Now, Pharaoh drowned. The waters went over Pharaoh. They floating in the sea. Israelites are happy. Moses is singing. Aaron is singing. Miriam is singing. The Israelites are jumping for joy and relief, right? This is just a triumph. It's a triumphal celebration. You know, the Most High has proved himself to be the warrior God that the Israelites were calling on. He has proven himself. Now, they took their journey from Elim. All the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month, after their departing out of the land of Egypt. So they in month 2. This have nothing to do with a lunar calendar or watching the phases of the moon, anything like that. Nothing to do with that. Okay? Nothing to do with that. All right, so continuing, they journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journey according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim, right? So they was there. They still are in the second month. All right, they're still in the second month. There's no indications that they went into a third month. So they are still in the second month. Moses' father-in-law comes. Moses creates the captains and rulers of thousands, the rulers of hundreds, and the rulers of 50s, and the rulers of 10s, in accordance to the advice that his father-in-law gave him. Okay. So they're still in the wilderness of Sin, or Sinai. All right. Still in the same second month. There's no change in the month. Still in the second month. So they received the commandments in the second month of them coming out of Egypt. All right, so these are still the laws. All right, so it doesn't start breaking down any of the months or anything like that, but I'm sure it's 40 years in the wilderness. So, you figured most of these stories spread out in over the 40 years or whatever that they were in Egypt. But it was the 15th. They did not keep the ShaBBoT. This is right here, Exodus 16, Exodus chapter 16. Starting from verse 1, you see the 15th day of the second month. Within the same chapter, they kept a ShaBBoT. All right? See, for the Lord, this is verse 29 of Exodus 16. See, for the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore, he's given you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. This is the first ShaBBoT after the 15th day of the second month. So basically, the 22nd day of the second month of the Israelites coming out of Egypt, they kept the ShaBBoT. That was the first ShaBBoT kept. All right, so In the last verse, it states, which is verse 35, it states, "And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah." All right, so they ate manna the whole 40 years. They didn't keep their first Sabbath. No nation has ever kept a Sabbath until Israel kept a Sabbath. And they kept it on the 22nd day of the second month of them coming out of Egypt. So their months, in essence, did not break down to some type of lunar observance, meaning that you watch the moon to determine the time and dates and the months or whatever. You know, the new moon, you know, you have a lot of this new moon festival. It's not, it doesn't say new moon, it's new month. It's a new month festival, all right? You see that the months go in according to 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. All right. So, how can we further understand the Hebrew calendar before I get into the Judaic calendar? How we understand how does the Hebraic calendar work? Because it's all, you know, in the understanding of keeping a true Torahic ShaBBoT versus the Jewish ShaBBoT, which is the worship, it's a Babylonian practice. I'm gonna get into that of the Babylonian practice and why the Ashkenazis do keep a Saturday ShaBBoT. So I will have to go to the breakdown. Let me see. Because we have certain traditions that we have to keep. And these traditions, or what they call Hajj, making a pilgrimage. We have to keep these certain pilgrimage. And in order to keep, in order to keep these pilgrimage, you have to keep them at the times that it's supposed to be kept. So you have to be observant of the days and the months. So I want to get into exactly how to break down the days and the months or whatever of how to keep the festivals, because we have 3 pilgrimages a year that we're supposed to keep, and in order to keep those hajjs or pilgrimage, we have to be observant of the days and the months. So let me see if I can get to that real fast, help break that down. Then we're going to get into this Judaism thing and where they get their calendar from, and how do they claim that Saturday is the holy ShaBBoT. So I definitely want to get into that because we have to understand, if we're trying to keep Torah and we want to keep that identity, to be a Hebrew is to be separated, to be alienated from all other nations of people, all other cultures. So if you find yourself in some type of identical with another people, religious culture, most likely you're not keeping the proper culture of Kodesh, or the holy culture, or the separated culture, the culture of Hebrews. You know, if your culture is identical to another nation's culture, and it's most likely it's not official, You understand? So, in the aspect of, I'm going to use the example of the Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. And this is how I'm going to use the example of why and how and for what reason the Ashkenazis are dealing with a Saturday Shabbat. So let me see if I can get to the 3 pilgrimage a year. And so we can break that down and get better clarity on the fact that the Israelites, the Hebrews themselves, did not use any type of solar or lunar observance to break down their months and years and things of that nature. All right, and we will find this in Exodus 23. So let me go to Exodus 23. All right, so we find this in Exodus 23. And that verse would be verse 14. But I think it's another breakdown. It says Exodus 34. So maybe I think, because that one I think explains it a little in more detail. For so we get, the good idea. About the pilgrimage, because I believe this is in all right. So Exodus, we also have Exodus 23. So let's go to Exodus 23. But I believe it's a more in-depth breakdown. I was trying to find that one that's more in-depth. Breakdown. Because in the other breakdown, it kind of breaks down exactly how many days or how many Shabbats is supposed to happen before you make Hajj. So I'm trying to find this breakdown here. So I think it's Exodus 34. Okay. So I believe this is it right here. All right, so let's get into this on how they break it down. Now it is. I'm trying to find where, because it tells you to count a certain amount of weeks. I just myself I forgot exactly where it was. Okay, so it might be Deuteronomy 16. Okay, I think this is it. I believe this is it. So I'm just trying to find a certain breakdown where it has it broke down. Let me see, because it says count 6 days or count 6 Sabbaths. Let me see. I'm just trying to do this to give proof that there was no lunar observance in breaking down so unfortunately I just didn't know the scripture off the top of my head. Anybody know the scripture I'm talking about? All right, so maybe, okay, so I'm seeing Leviticus 23. Okay, the breakdown. This is exactly what I was looking for. Okay. This is exactly what I was looking for. This is exactly what I wanted to point out to everyone. Is the breakdown, the calendar breakdown. All right. I know it took me time to find it. Thanks for bearing with me. Took a little time to find it. Because I wanted the breakdown where the Torah breaks it down. How many days to count to how many Sabbaths, to show that there is no type of lunar observance, meaning that nobody's looking up in the sky watching the moon to determine what day it is, what month it is on Earth. It's not. The Israelites did not use a lunar solar calendar. They didn't use that to complete their first Shabbat. They didn't use that for any Shabbats or Sabbaths after that. All right, so now here's the breakdown. This is Leviticus chapter 23. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feast. All right. Verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, Mind you, again, it reiterates that. That doesn't give you a specific calendar day. It just says 6 days shall work be done. So whenever your first day of work is, count 6 days. That is the true Shabbat. Whatever day the seventh day fall on, it doesn't matter. There's no significance. So whatever day the Shabbat falls on, whatever day your Shabbat falls on, just as long as you keep the Shabbat. That's the point. People think it's about keeping it a certain day. No, it's about keeping it in general. All right, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season. Okay, in their season. In the 14th day of the first month, at even, is the Lord's Passover. On the 15th day, now this is the 14th day of the first month. On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So this is the first day, right, of the next month. So the first day of the second month. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. So, okay, so you got the 14th day. That's the Lord's Passover. On the 15th day, you eat unleavened bread for 7 days. All right? So 15, count 15. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's 22 days. On the 22nd of the first month, so from the 15th day to the 22nd day, you're eating unleavened bread. In the first day, ye shall have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. The first day of what? The third month. But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. So from the first day to 7 days, from the beginning of the next third month, from the first day to the seventh day. In the seventh day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work. Because from the first day to the 6th day, you do your work. But on the 7th day would be the Sabbath. This is third month. Okay? And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say to them, When ye be come into the land which I gave unto you, ye shall reap the harvest thereof. Then ye shall bring a shaft of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. So this breaks down, all right, how many days? The first month, the 14th day, 15th day. 7 days of unleavened bread. First day of the month, no servile work. Count 6 days, or count 7 days. All right, that's 8 days. Because on the first day, you're keeping the Sabbath, or the third month. In the same month, you count, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. 7 days. And in the 7th day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So on the first day of the third month, and on the second month. I keep saying third month because it's the first month. So this will be the second month. Excuse me. So on the 7th day of the second month, you're going to make an offering by fire. So let's go back to Exodus 23. All right, it says, thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I command thee, in the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou comest out of Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. In the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labor, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. 3 times a year shall thy males, 3 times a year all thy males shall appear before the Lord God. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until the morning. 3 times a year. Okay? So we have the first month, which is the Passover. Then we have a feast in the second month. It's the first fruits. And then in the last month, which is the feast of ingathering. So we have first fruits. Okay? So we have the Passover first month, right? Then we have the first fruits, okay? The Feast of Harvest, the first fruits of thy labor, and the Feast of Ingathering, which is in the end of the year. So we have feast in the beginning of the year, and we have a feast at the end of the year. Has nothing to do with a lunar cycle or observance of some type of moon watching. Okay? So, in essence, the Torah Sabbath is the observance of servitude or servile work for 6 days and resting on the 7th day. If that Hebrew individual does not work in a continuance of 6 days straight, they are not obligated or required to keep a Shabbat. In this day and age, the nation where everybody went to work at the same time, everybody came home at the same time, then everybody would keep a Shabbat at the same time. But because we all go to work and we all have different schedules, we all, have different lifestyles, it's impossible for us to keep a Shabbat all at the same time, being that we all have different work schedules. So why do the Jews keep a Shabbat at the same time? So let's get into that. See if I bring up one of my good pictures here. So why do the Jews keep this rest on Saturn's Day? Well, if we understand the reason for the Jews and their identity. So let me see. Do I have I might have something up here that might can help the viewer understand exactly where I'm going. I'm not sure if I have a picture of what I want to convey to us. I might have it. I might have it. Yes. Here we go. That's what we got. That's the reason for the Saturday ShaBBoT. It's called the Talmud or the RaBBinicaL order. So it's the Babbili or the Babylonian Talmud. Now, what does Babylon have to do with Saturday ShaBBoT? It has everything to do with it. First of all, this is a Babylonian Talmud. The Jewish people, the Ashkenazis, center their culture tradition around not the Torah. Please be not mistaken or fooled in thinking that Ashkenazis follow Torah. No, they do not follow Torah. They follow the Talmud. This is the significance of their nation, is the Talmud, which is the rabbinical commentary. Basically, the Talmud is the rabbi's explanation for the unexplained aspects of Torah. All right. So it gets deeper. It gets a lot deeper. But I'm gonna just give you an overall understanding of why they keep a Saturday ShaBBoT. First, the king of Babylon. We understand that in the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar created an image and a standard. He created a gold image and he created a standard to follow that image. That every person of every nation, of every tongue had to stop what they're doing. When the harp's playing and the music and the trumpet going, they had to stop what they're doing and pay homage to the image that the king of Babylon created. This is the reason why the three Israelites, 3 Jews, were thrown into the fire. Nebuchadnezzar got upset because they did not pay homage to his image or his standard, but they rejected to follow that tradition, and he threw them in the fire. We remember that story. Okay. This is a Babylonian Talmud. Now you had Babylonian have every now Babylon. You have to understand what Babylon means. Babylon means a place of mixed people. This is why when he created the standard and image, he said of people of every nation, of every tongue, meaning that in Babylon they were mixed people. People from here, people from there, just kind of like how America is today. What they call a melting pot of cultures and religions and things of this nature. So this is what Babylon was. So everybody had to pay homage to the image and the standard of Nebuchadnezzar. Everybody had to stop doing what they was doing at the same time. Everybody. And pray or give honor to the image of Babylon. We have a Babylonian Talmud. If you understand the true origin of the ShaBBoT, which we just went through, work 6 days, take the 7th day off. No matter what day you started your work, as long as you work in a continuous fashion for 6 days, you take the 7th or the ShaBBoT off as a rest, to rejuvenate yourself, not to overwork yourself, to refresh yourself. for another week of working. In the creation story of Bereshit or Genesis, we see from the first day to the sixth day, there was no specification on what calendar day was the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth day. When we go to the book of ShaBBoT or Exodus, we see that it was commanded by law to take a rest day, not only for humanity, not only for the head of the household, but for the children of the household, for the employees and slaves of that household, not only for them, but for the cattle and animals of that house. Everyone takes a rest. When we go to Devarim or Deuteronomy, what is the significance of the Hebrews keeping the Shabbat or keeping the Sabbath is because they were slaves in Egypt, working 7 days a week constantly. So they are keeping a rest day out of honor of being brought out of a situation where they had no rest. So the significance of rest for the Hebrews equates to the obscurity of slavery. You're resting because you remember when you was a slave. And you didn't have no rest. You didn't have nowhere to sit back and relax. Somebody was over you, beating you and making you work constantly. Even when you was tired, you was still made to work. So you keep in, as far as the Hebrew aspect of Shabbat should be, I'm keeping a rest because I'm not a slave. I ain't going to be working 7 days a week for nothing or nobody. My God brung me out of the slave, so I ain't no slave for no object. I ain't a slave for no person. I ain't a slave for nothing. I'm taking a day off because it's my God-given right to take a day off. And that's basically the purpose of Shabbat. Whenever you keep your Shabbat, it doesn't matter. You can keep your Shabbat Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as long as you work 6 days prior to the day that you're keeping Shabbat. That's the true Torah Sabbath. Now, in the Ashkenazi aspect of keeping the Saturday or Saturn's Day Sabbath, okay, we know that the Ashkenazis base their culture and traditions off of the Babylonian Talmud. We understand that in Babylon there was an image and a standard that was created, and all people, all languages had to stop what they would, stop all work, stop all service, and give honor to the image and the standard. Saturday, Shabbat is a standard. It is an image. It is the image of Judaism. It is the identity of being a Jew. It's keeping a rest day on Saturday. That's the image of being a Jew. That is the standard of Judaism, is keeping Shabbat on Saturday. You are not a Jew or will be recognized as a Jew or Hebrew if you're not keeping the Saturday Shabbat. Even have Christians who are Seventh-day evangelists who keep Saturday Shabbat in the Christian form. But even still, Saturday Sabbath does not mean Saturday. So the practice of everyone of the Jewish faith or the Jewish identity of keeping Saturn's Day as the official religious rest has nothing to do with the Torah, but it has everything to do with power and control in the same aspect of what Nebuchadnezzar was trying to do, the king of Babylon. This is why, according to Jeremiah, he says he was bringing the Jews out of Babylon because they have said that the Lord has made profit in Babylon. This is in the book of Jeremiah. This is why the Jews themselves were brought out of Babylon, because they were saying that the Lord has brought up prophets from Babylon. So he brought the Jews out of Babylon and let them know ain't no prophets coming out of Babylon. So this Babylonian Talmud is not a prophetic book. It's not a book of the Hebrews or the Israelites' theories, anything. This is the Babylonian Talmud is the book of the Babylonians, of those Jews who decided to stay in Babylon. When the exodus out of Babylon was occurring, you had many Jews who lived in Babylon and knew nothing but Babylon, being that the Jews were enslaved in Babylon for 70 years. So you had a very small amount of people returning, and then you had two different exodus. You had the first exodus out of Babylon was with Zerubbabel. That was the first exodus. Then you had a second exodus out of Babylon with Ezra, the scribe, who came into Jerusalem and actually formulated the Torah, or wrote the Torah, because they didn't have a Torah at the time. It was laws burnt up or whatever. So the Jews did not have a Torah, and it was Ezra, who was the scribe who specialized in the law of the Torah, who actually rewrote the Torah and what they say Aramaic. And from that Torah, from Ezra's Torah, we get supposedly the Septuagint, which is the Greek Bible. I want everybody to know that the whole entire Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, was written in Greek as the original written language of the Bible. Old and New Testament is Greek. But in any case, the Saturday ShaBBoT, or the Saturn's Day, is a Babylonian practice of all nations conforming to a certain religious, all people of all nations, of all languages, conforming to a certain religious idea. So if you are a Jew, you're claiming to be a Jew, then the only way that you can prove that you are a Jew is by keeping a Saturn tradition of paying homage to Saturn's Day. And this comes straight out of the Babylonian Talmud. Saturday is a Talmudic tradition. Has nothing to do with Torah. It's not specified in the Torah at all, in no form or fashion. So if you're keeping a Saturday ShaBBoT and you didn't work 6 days straight prior to keeping a Saturday ShaBBoT, what you are doing is you're keeping a Babylonian practice. A practice that, according to story, biblical story, Nebuchadnezzar was condemned for that practice. And it was the anointed King Cyrus of Persia who actually condemned King Nebuchadnezzar. The Israelites were brought out of that culture to rebuild the temple. You had Ezra to come later on. His occupation was a scribe, and he was well versed in the Torah and the law. He set out to write the law and to reiterate the law in the book, and that's what he did. So the Babylonian practice, any type of culture that came out of Babylon, was abandoned by the Jews once they returned back to their original culture. So if anybody is keeping the Babylonian practice of some type of standard or image that all people must follow, knowing that the true Sabbath is an individual thing. It's an individual household rest day. Whenever your household starts work, whenever you start your first day of work, you work 6 days and take the 7th day off. Now, your ShaBBoT might not be my ShaBBoT. My ShaBBoT might start on Wednesday. Your ShaBBoT might start on Monday. Somebody else's ShaBBoT might start on Thursday. Another individual ShaBBoT can start on Sunday. There is no significance to when you're supposed to keep the rest day. As far it has to be Saturday. It has to be this day. That's flawed. It's flawed for the simple fact that it is not mentioned in any form or fashion according to Torah. It's not mentioned. In no form is it mentioned in Torah. So this rest on the Sabbath, sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday, is a Babylonian Judaic rabbinical practice that has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with Torah at all. So if you're keeping a Saturday, Saturn's Day, Sabbath, then you're keeping a rabbinical Talmudic practice that is not of Torah. And if you are trying to walk in the words of the Most High, then you can't follow the traditions of man. You understand? So there's a lot of things dealing with the Ashkenazis that we have to clarify as Black Hebrew Israelites, because the practices that we're trying to absorb, being that we're using these Ashkenazi Jews as the image of what it is to be an Israelite, that we have to abandon that process of trying to identify with a nation of people that do not identify with the Torah, which they do not identify with the Torah at all. Go ahead and check out my page. I have a 2-part video on entitled "If David is King over Israel, Who is James?" I was speaking on the King James Bible, and I speak more in depth on the Ashkenazis and the reasons why they don't use the King James Bible, nor do they use the King's language, which is English, and why the Ashkenazis retranslated and reinterpreted the King James Bible into their own book called the Tanakh in their own language, called modern Hebrew, and ultimately why they abandoned the Bible altogether, and are using, as far as their religious and cultural and traditional book, they're using the Talmud. And I speak on the reasons why they are doing that. So check that out. It's right on my page. It's called "If David is King over Israel, Who is James?" So check that out. It's a 2-part video. It's very informative. They give you a better understanding of who the Ashkenazis are and what is their ultimate agenda when dealing with power and sovereignty, things of this nature. And, it'll give you even a good idea on what the black Hebrew Israelites should be doing, instead of trying to be recognized by people who have no intentions on recognizing black people as Jews or Israelites or anything like that. We can learn from the Ashkenazis, not learn to practice their culture, but learn to imitate their sovereignty. How did they become an independent nation? Let's try to take those same steps so we can become sovereign and independent. So I speak a lot on that. So it's a 2-part video. It's right on my page. Again, it's entitled, If David is King Over Israel, Who is James? And I'm speaking on the King James Bible and the fact that we as black Hebrew Israelites, which is baffling me, is why are we still using the King James Bible 1611 version or the New King James Version. With all these different versions and translations that is acceptable today. I mean, you have many, many different versions of the Bible and printed and created by different nations. My question to the black Hebrew Israelites is, why are we still using the King James Bible? Why haven't we reinterpreted, retranslated the King James Bible into our own book, something that a book that can grasp the identity of the reader more so than the Biblios or the Bible of today, because we can translate it different, word it different. It suits and fits our identity and our agenda. But that hasn't come about. I don't know if there's talk about that. And that's really the center of the subject of what I was speaking on in that 2-part video. David is king over Israel, who is James. I was really digging into the ridiculousness and the infancy of the black Hebrew Israelites and the power that we do have, but we're just not using it. But check out the video, when you get time or whatever. And, I think you will find it very informative. Definitely, if you're not really familiar with the Ashkenazis and who they are and what they are and what they're about. So, that'll bring you to some light when dealing with them. So I hope that this help, each and every individual that is trying to keep Torah, want to keep the ShaBBoT, even for my Muslim family, because they're supposed to keep ShaBBoT as well. This is mentioned in the Quran as well. So I hope this helps with your journey. Because the Torah is not a religious thing. It's a universal thing. This is not about if you're an Israelite, whatever religious identity or denomination you're part of. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with being an Israelite or a Hebrew. It has nothing to do with that at all. The Torah is a general respect for life and happy, love, peace. This is what the Torah promotes. And you don't have to be whatever, not steal from another individual, not try to take their wives. You don't have to be an Israelite or someone to give someone a day off. Don't overwork them. You don't have to be an Israelite not to commit adultery or sleep with somebody else's husband or wife, or desire somebody else's lifestyle or clothing or whatever. Or you don't have to be an Israelite to honor your mother and your father, not to steal from another individual. These are universal practices that gives peace, and shows love and give a sense of harmony to whatever civilization or whatever family embodies those characteristic laws. And this is what the Torah is about. It's not about Christian against Jew, Muslim against Christian, or whatever. It's not about that, because in essence, all three major religions stem from one, which is the Torah. You understand? And all of them has the same message. Jesus' greatest message was to love your neighbor as you love yourself. In Arabic, they call him Isa. In Greek, he's Iusis. In English, he's Jesus. In Latin, he's Jesus. And in the Black Hebrew Israelite community, they call him Yahweh Shawi or whatever. I don't know where they get that name from. But whatever. In the Quran, it's definitely according to the Hadith, when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was asked, what's a good Muslim? It was stated that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, a good Muslim is a Muslim who greets Muslims and non-Muslims, people he know and people he don't know, with peace. And do not speak vows to another Muslim or another individual, but speaks peace, speaks love, speaks life into another individual. That's a good Muslim. And in the Hebraic standpoint, loving your neighbor as you love yourself, not standing against the blood of your neighbor, not stealing from your neighbor, not murdering the innocent. These are the attributes of better lifestyles. So we all can embody this. Keeping a rest day is not about, I'm part of this religious cult, or I'm part of these people, and this is how we do it versus how y'all pagans. That's not about that. Because the Sabbath is not about a certain day to identify a certain people, to a certain religion. The Sabbath is about the individual not overworking their life out of respect for life. You want to enjoy life because you're not going to be here forever. Our times are limited. We do not know the day or the hour that our life will expire. But if you are constantly working your whole life, when will you have time to enjoy the gift of life that was given to you? If you're constantly serving for something. This is why we are the servants of the Most High. We are the servants of Allah. We are the servants of Yah. Remember, he says, Jacob, you are my servant. And being that Yah, Yah, Allah, that means life, to be, to exist. So when he's saying, you are my servant, you are the servant of life. You are the servant of existence. Serve life. Don't serve money. Don't serve idols. Don't serve inanimate objects. Don't serve greed. Don't serve envy. Don't serve jealousy. For he is the jealous God. For life is jealous. So serve life. Don't work for this individual so much that you neglect your life. Don't work for this car so hard that you neglect life. Don't work that new iPhone 7 days a week constantly that you neglect your life and loving your life and enjoying each and every moment of your living breath. Enjoy it. Because it's not going to be here for you all the time. From dust you came, to dust you shall return. So in the middle of the dust you came into, to the dust you shall return, you're going to work yourself to death. What is the meaning of our creation if that is the purpose of our essence, is to be workers? We do have to work, yes. But to constantly work, day in, day out, every day, no rest, no reflection, no nothing, that's slavery, people. That's not life. You know, you work and you're able to buy something, but you can't enjoy it because you're back at work. That's not life. That's not peace. So you truly want to keep the true Sabbath. You work 6 days, take the 7th day off. That's the Torah Sabbath. But if you want to keep the religious, rabbinical, Judaic Sabbath, then this is the hour that you keep that Sabbath. Sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday. If you want to keep Saturn's Day, if you want to keep the Babylonian practice of worshiping the images and the standards of man, then you keep your Shabbat on Saturday. But if you want to follow the direction of life, if you want to follow Torah, then you take your Shabbat any day of the week, as long as you work 6 days prior. Peace, everybody. I hope this helped. I hope this is very informative. And I hope you use this and pass this information on to those that were less fortunate to hear this. Because the truth has to get out there, collectively or individually. Peace. Shalom, shalom.